if you come here illegally, unless you qualify for some form of humanitarian relief, we will send you back.
But that's a message thousands of immigrants, mostly women and children from Central America, ignored last year at this time, flooding the U.S. border. Claiming to flee violence, they asked for asylum or protected status to avoid being deported.
If a migrant qualifies under our laws for humanitarian aid or humanitarian relief, will comply with the law.
Until then, when they get their day in court, the feds place some in detention centers, others got a bus ticket to live with relatives. But according to records obtained exclusively by Fox News, out of roughly 35,000 adults with children charged, 12,000 cases are complete, but 84%, or more than 10,000, didn't even show up for court, and less than 3%, or about 350 people, left on their own.
These people were coming because they knew that they would be allowed to stay, that they were not planning to make some kind of plea for humanitarian status, such as asylum.
The data provided by the Department of Justice underscores the dilemma facing immigration officials. The ACLU and more than 100 lawmakers want to close federal detention centers, which they consider inhumane and unacceptable. But when Central American immigrants are released, they fail to appear in court, not just undermining, but ignoring the rule of law.
This is a strategy that is going to produce even more illegal immigration, as we've seen recently, with still thousands and thousands of people every month arriving and turning themselves over to the Border Patrol because they know they're going to be released.
And statistics support that. Already this year, more than 32,000 children and families from Central America entered the U.S. illegally, exceeding the number of Mexicans crossing the U.S.-Mexican border. And the total number of illegal immigrants being deported is the lowest in 4 years.
It's inappropriate to treat them that way. I mean, women and children, what harm can they do?
At a meeting of Latino leaders last week in Las Vegas, officials said Central American families should not be detained.
They deserve asylum. They're human beings and should be treated like human beings. This is America.
Many of these women and children are being terrorized in their country, and that's the reason they're leaving.
But the data says otherwise. In 92% of the cases, U.S. immigration judges reject the claim that Central American families returning home will be victims of violence. So why do illegal immigrants fail to show up in court? Well, consider more than 100 so-called sanctuary cities protect immigrants from deportation, and almost no city will even hold immigrants who commit crimes to be deported. Secondly, worksite enforcement is virtually non-existent, as ICE audits, fines, and criminal charges are down by more than 50%, and only 8 states even require employers to use that federal database that determines legal status. The bottom line, critics say under current policy, it makes more sense to avoid court, to live relatively freely in the U.S., than show up in court and fight for it. In Los Angeles, William Lajeunesse, Fox News.